Hello, divers. Welcome to a very special edition of the Deep Dive Podcast. That's right. No microcast, no mysteries, no hype, just the podcast. I'm Tom Feeney, writer for Wang's Chop Movie Magazine and various other publications you've probably never heard of. January 1st marks the beginning of each new year, but it also serves another meaning. It's Public Domain Day, and this year is no exception. In fact, this year's crop of artistic works entering the public domain is especially interesting. But before we get to that, let's unravel the Gordian knot that is the public domain. And who better to do that than the good old U.S. Copyright Office? Take it away.
What is the public domain? Why does it matter to you? The public domain is not a place. It's a concept that refers to everything not protected by copyright in the United States. It includes works that were never protected by copyright, as well as those whose term of protection has expired. If it's in the public domain, it's free to use. The existence of the public domain means that there is an extensive and growing cultural legacy, which is available to everyone as a resource for study, development, and material for new creative works. The Founding Fathers gave Congress the power to promote the progress of science by securing for a limited time to authors the exclusive right to writings. Copyright law has changed over time, so when and how a work expires changed too. Under current law, copyright protection covers an original and creative work as soon as it is fixed in a tangible medium.
Okay, if you're still awake, perfect. We can continue. So, a copyright can protect an artist's work, but these were not meant to last forever. Some companies that have been around a long time, Disney, have a vested interest in keeping their intellectual property under their control. And as Walt Disney himself famously said, it all started with a mouse. And that mouse now belongs to the people. Alongside a few caveats, Mickey Mouse in his original iteration is poised to join the ranks of characters, films, and books entering the public domain in 2024. In a moment long anticipated by copyright nerds, and yes, that is a thing, the day has come that some believed might never materialize. The day that at least one version of arguably the most iconic character in American pop culture will finally be liberated from Disney's copyright. The 1928 short film Steamboat Willie, marking the debut of both Mickey and Minnie Mouse, is now accessible for public use. So how could Disney let this happen? With their army of lawyers, at least those not currently battling Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, I mean, how can there not be some loophole, some legal chicanery that would let Disney keep their copyright? Well, they did. For a while, anyway. See, copyright laws are meant to grant protection for a limited period, and Mickey Mouse, along with other early Disney characters, would have entered the public domain by the 1950s. However, the Disney company, recognizing the immense value of its intellectual property, became a driving force behind copyright extensions here in the United States. The Copyright Term Extension Act of 1998, often dubbed the Mickey Mouse Protection Act, significantly extended the duration of copyright protection. This legislation, influenced by Disney's lobbying efforts, prolonged copyright terms for decades, preventing Mickey Mouse and other early creations from entering the public domain. Disney's actions were widely criticized as an example of corporate influence on intellectual property legislation. A recent legal case demonstrates what lengths the Mouse House will go to in order to protect their copyrighted materials.
A thematic car wash company on the outskirts of Chile's capital is facing a lawsuit from Lucasfilm for purported plagiarism of Star Wars. The lawsuit came after the car wash named Star Wash posted attendance on social media dressed as the movie's characters washing cars. The car wash is contesting the suit, arguing the name is different enough to avoid confusion with the Lucasfilm movie franchise.
Now, it may seem silly that a massive multinational corporation would care if a small car wash in Chile was Star Wars themed, because it is silly. And of course, there's the story of one creator who wanted to be sued by Disney. In 1971, Dan O'Neill, a creator of so-called underground comics, decided to take on the big bad Disney company. He published a comic book called Air Pirates Funnies. The lead story featured characters who looked exactly like Mickey and Minnie Mouse and were called Mickey and Minnie, and featured the characters engaging in, let's say, adult situations. And O'Neill got his wish. Disney sued him for copyright infringement, trademark infringement, and unfair competition. O'Neill argued his work was parody and therefore constituted fair use. This case limped along for years until 1978, when a judgment against O'Neill for copyright infringement was issued. 2 years later, when Disney lawyers realized they were never going to collect the nearly $200,000 in damages and $2 million in legal fees, well, they settled the case. And during the entire process, O'Neill continued to illegally write and draw comics featuring Mickey Mouse. Now, while Steamboat Willie is by far the most popular work of art entering the public domain in 2024, it is by no means the only. Remember when, just a couple of years ago, Winnie the Pooh entered the public domain? And shortly thereafter, there was a really awful horror movie based on the honey-loving stuffed bear?
You know, you're the first person I ever shown this place to.
And why am I so special?
Because soon we'll be Christopher and Mary Robin.
You should be close now.
We're not going to find them.
We will. Pooh, Piglet, Eeyore, we were friends for many years, and they're out there.
Christopher, we need to leave. Now.
I really need to find out what's happened here, okay? Please, to be friends, why are you doing this, please? I would have never left, I swear, I swear.
Well, this year, Pooh's bouncy buddy Tigger joins him in becoming a free agent. Doubtless we will see him disemboweling hapless victims on some streaming service later this year. Oh, and getting back to Mickey Mouse for a moment. A trailer for a horror film starring the iconic rodent has been released.
There's blood all over the jungle gym.
Blood?
Yes. Put the phone down! Put the phone down, please!
I'd like to do that. I've already started.
No, Gina, turn around, please, Gina!
I'll be right back. And he's dead.
What?
Like if he was in a horror movie, he'd never say, I'll be right back.
because then you don't.
Where the hell did he go?
Yeah, great. Anyway, also becoming free to use is the Marx Brothers classic comedy Animal Crackers. Not the film, mind you, the Broadway show version, which has much of the same humor. Legendary silent film star Buster Keaton's 1928 film The Cameraman, about, you guessed it, a cameraman, enters the public domain, as does comedy duo Laurel and Hardy's very first team-up, the 1928 silent short, Should Married Men Go Home? A classic novel that has been adapted twice for the silver screen is now in the public domain. You might be familiar with the book if you had a high school English teacher with a cruel streak like I did. It's All Quiet on the Western Front, set during World War I. In the world of music, classic tunes Mac the Knife, Sonny Boy, Makin' Whoopee, and I Want to Be Loved by You are all now free for anyone to record. I can't wait to hear some ambient lo-fi version of Makin' Whoopee. It's going to happen. I'll do it myself if I have to. Well, thanks for listening. If this is the first time you've heard this podcast, check out our past episodes, available on almost all podcast providers, and subscribe so you don't miss a single one. If you like what you hear, write a review. We'd love to know what you think. Check out the link on our website at thedeepdivepodcast.com, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast. Links to all of our social media can be found on our Instagram bio, which is The Deep Dive Podcast. The feedback we get makes us better. Please keep sending suggestions and ideas. We may even use them. And if we do, we might even give you credit. And remember, accept no substitutes, because there are many. I'm Tom Feeney. Don't forget to tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your doctor if you suffer from any of these symptoms. And we'll catch you next time. All clips used in this podcast are meant for educational purposes only, and not to infringe on existing copyrights. The Deep Dive Podcast is a production of Automaton Studios.